Charles Bronson, the iconic American actor, was born on November 3, 1921, in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania. He was the 11th of 15 children born to Lithuanian immigrants, and his birth name was actually Charles Dennis Buchinsky. When Charles was just 11 years old, his father passed away, leaving him and his family to fend for themselves. After completing his high school education at South Fork High School in 1940, he joined his brothers in the coal mines to make ends meet. Life in the mines was tough. The dust and cramped conditions left little room for comfort, and Charles found himself living in marginal conditions. However, his life changed when he was drafted into the military during World War II in 1943. He was assigned to the Kingman Army Airfield in Arizona, where he drove a mess delivery truck before being transferred to the South Pacific. There he served as a tail gunner on a B-29 bomber, where he faced the dangers of war head-on. Charles Bronson had always been interested in art, and after his discharge from the Army Air Forces in 1946, he decided to pursue his passion for commercial art. He enrolled at the Husseian School of Art in Philadelphia on the GI Bill of Rights in 1947. It was there that he was approached by members of a local repertory company who were impressed with his artistic skills and asked him to design scenery for their productions at the Plays and Players Theater. Bronson dropped out of art school and joined the company, where he was given acting roles. Despite starting from scratch in the acting world, Bronson was eager to pursue his newfound passion. Along with his friend Jack Klugman, he rented a one-room apartment in New York City in the fall of 1948 and began auditioning for theatrical roles. While Klugman had more experience and success in getting work, Bronson was encouraged by the few small parts he received and felt he was ready to make acting his full-time career. In 1949, he married Harriet Tendler, an actress he met in the Plays and Players Theater repertory company. They had 2 children together. He and Tendler divorced in March 1965, bringing an end to their 16-year marriage. In the fall of 1949, Charles Bronson left Philadelphia for Southern California with the hope of finding more film work. He enrolled at the Pasadena Playhouse School of Theater and took classes in acting and speech, while his wife Harriet supported them by working in a department store. After a year of speech instruction, Bronson realized that his rough-hewn Slavic looks were better suited for character roles and decided to curtail his speech lessons. In 1951, Bronson landed his first film role in You're in the Navy Now, a comedy directed by Henry Hathaway and starring Gary Cooper after one of his instructors recommended him for the part. Bronson's performance in the film was competent and earned him an agent, leading to minor roles in several movies in the early 1950s. Some of the films he appeared in during this period included The People Against O'Hara, 1951, The Mob, 1951, Pat and Mike, 1952, House of Wax, 1953, Apache, 1954, and Veracruz, 1954. During his early career, Bronson had the opportunity to work alongside some of Hollywood's biggest stars, including Cooper, Spencer Tracy, Broderick Crawford, Vincent Price, and Burt Lancaster. He also worked with esteemed directors such as Hathaway, John Sturges, George Cukor, Andre de Toth, and Robert Aldrich, who helped him hone his craft. He failed to obtain a studio contract, but he remained persistent and continued to secure secondary roles. His professionalism, punctuality, and ability to memorize lines impressed producers and directors, who often used him again. During the Cold War tension between the United States and the Soviet Union and the congressional investigations of communism, Buchinsky was advised to change his Russian-sounding surname in 1954. He chose the name Bronson after a street in Hollywood, Bronson Avenue. Bronson earned his first critical praise as a renegade Indian leader in Drum Beat 1954, a film directed by Delmer Daves and starring Alan Ladd. He continued to deliver solid supporting performances in films such as Big House USA 1955, Target Zero 1955, Jubal 1956, and Run of the Arrow 1957. In 1958, Bronson was allowed to star in 3 B movies, Gang War, Showdown at Boot Hill, and Machine Gun Kelly. Despite being a low-budget film, Machine Gun Kelly received critical acclaim overseas, largely due to Bronson's strong portrayal of its vicious yet cowardly subject. Bronson also appeared on several popular television shows, including Medic, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Gunsmoke, and Have Gun Will Travel throughout the 1950s. In 1958, he landed the lead role in Man with a Camera, playing a freelance photojournalist in New York City who helps the police solve crimes. The show did well in the ratings, but it was canceled in its second season after a new flashbulb product by Polaroid made the General Electric sponsored show obsolete. Bronson's career took off in the 1960s with standout performances in two of his most memorable films, The Magnificent Seven, 1960, and The Great Escape, 1963, both directed by John Sturges. In The Magnificent Seven, a western based on the Japanese classic The Seven Samurai, he played a tough gunman hired to protect a Mexican village, forming a bond with the village's children. In The Great Escape, a World War II prisoner of war film, he utilized his coal mining experience playing Danny Valinsky, the escape tunnel digger. Once a struggling actor, Charles Bronson worked his way up to supporting roles in Hollywood throughout the 1950s and early 1960s. Although he appeared in several highly touted films, only The Dirty Dozen, 1967, proved to be a commercial and critical success. Bronson had turned down leading roles in two westerns directed by Sergio Leone, which went to Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef instead. Despite his previous rejections, Bronson began to seek leading roles and was more open to European offers in the late 1960s. At the request of French actor Alain Delon, who admired Bronson's work in Machine Gun Kelly, he co-starred in Adieu l'ami, 1968, a British-French production that was a huge success. The movie was a complicated thriller revolving around the criminal activities of two veterans of the Algerian War of Independence. Bronson also starred in Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West, 1969, which turned out to be Leone's most successful spaghetti western. In the movie, Bronson played a harmonica-playing stranger who tracks down a cold-blooded killer played by Henry Fonda. Bronson continued to score in Rider on the Rain, 1970, directed by René Clement, as a mysterious American military investigator. His success in Europe led to his continental fame, where he was affectionately called Le Sacre Monstre in France and Il Brutto in Italy. He also extended his popularity to Asia in the worldwide hit western Red Sun, 1971, co-starring with Delon and Japanese legend Toshiro Mifune. In 1968, Bronson married British actress Jill Ireland, and they had one child together and adopted a second. The couple appeared in 15 films together. However, despite his international success, Bronson's new American-financed films received only a mixed reception in the early 1970s. Chato's Land, 1972, directed by Michael Winner, was largely ignored, while The Valachi Papers, 1972, became his first significant hit as a lead actor in the United States. For his portrayal of the famous mob informant from age 25 to age 60, he was paid $1 million and given 2% of the film's profit by producer Dino De Laurentiis. Although he won some praise for his performance, most critics compared the film unfavorably to Francis Ford Coppola's fictional gangster epic The Godfather, which was released earlier that year. Charles Bronson became a popular actor in the 1970s due to his slick and violent action films such as The Mechanic, 1972, The Stone Killer, 1973, and Mr. Majestic, 1974. However, it was his controversial film Death Wish, 1974, produced by Dino De Laurentiis and directed by Michael Winner, that brought him superstardom in the United States. In the movie, Bronson played the character of Paul Kersey, a Manhattan architect who takes to the streets with a concealed gun after his wife's murder and daughter's rape. He delivers vigilante justice to the criminal element in New York City. Despite being criticized by some as manipulative and reactionary, the film became a massive hit and made $20 million. Although Bronson continued to give sturdy performances in movies like Breakout, 1975, Hard Times, 1975, Breakheart Pass, 1975, St. Ives, 1976, From Noon Till 3, 1976, Telephone 1977, and Borderline 1980, none of them came close to matching the success of Death Wish. In the 1980s and early 1990s, Bronson starred in 4 ultraviolet Death Wish sequels, 1982, 1985, 1987, and 1994, that received diminishing reviews from critics. Bronson also appeared in equally violent police thrillers Murphy's Law 1986 and Kinjite Forbidden Subjects 1989. Although Bronson remained popular overseas, he began to lose audiences in America to a new generation of action stars. After his wife, Jill Ireland, passed away from breast cancer in 1990, Bronson portrayed husbands who suffered personal losses in The Indian Runner 1991 and the made-for-television movie Yes, Virginia, There Is a Santa Claus 1991. In 1998, Bronson married singer Kim Weeks, but sadly, he was diagnosed with lung cancer and passed away. He was buried in Brownsville Cemetery in West Windsor, Vermont. Throughout his 55-year acting career, Bronson only received 1 award, a special Golden Globe for being chosen as a male world film favorite in a poll conducted in 60 countries in 1971. Sadly, Bronson passed away on August 30th, 2003 at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. He was 81 years old at the time of his death. The news of his passing was met with great sadness by his fans, who admired his tough guy roles and commanding presence on screen. And that is the story of Charles Bronson, a man who defied the odds and achieved greatness in Hollywood. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.